Hello, as you can see, we're in the middle of a government shutdown, and it could be a very big one depending on how Congress and the Senate carry out with it, and if they could reach a deal on what seemingly is the most important part, the healthcare aspect of it. Now, what is the government shutdown and how does it affect you personally? Short answer, it affects you very heavily if it continues to go on. The federal programs that would be shut down, furloughed, and otherwise understaffed would eventually reach you depending on your needs from the federal government. But we'll talk about that later. What is a government shutdown? A government shutdown happens when the U.S. federal government fails to reach an agreement on the appropriating bills that they carry out during the negotiations towards the end of September, and as of today, October 1st, when the new schedule, or should I say time period, would be covered. Now, past government shutdowns have been pretty big, but this one is poised to be extreme. This one isn't exactly built on partisanship. It is kind of like the tipping point. It is kind of like the tipping point and the boiling point of the tensions between the Republicans and Democrats of the last 8 months. And basically, the main problem is healthcare. And as you may know, the big beautiful bill passed around July 4th, I believe, removed around $1 trillion worth of healthcare benefits from the entire country and people that were on federal assistance. Now, that is huge because a majority of the people that are on those benefits are in Republican states because they are poorer states. Democrats are working in favor of Republican voters. Now, why doesn't the Republican Party want to give these healthcare benefits? For one, they're making it seem like these benefits, these healthcare benefits, $1 trillion worth of it, is helping fund illegal immigrants and their healthcare benefits, and that, for the most part, is not true. Is not true. Illegal immigrants do not get benefits from the federal government. State government is a different story, and there is an argument there to be made, but that is not the point and not really applicable to this type of situation. Now, the reason I say that this is a very big one is because I believe how this shutdown gets treated will determine the winner of the midterm election next year for both the House and the Senate. And I say this because historically there have been precedents where, a government shutdown was blamed on one party, the Republicans. It was not good for them and their polling. So I believe that whichever party can successfully blame the other on the things that are going to unfold will win the midterms. Now, it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. It doesn't matter if, healthcare is funding illegal immigrants. It doesn't matter if the Republican constituents are receiving their healthcare. What matters is who gets made the enemy. And personally, I have no idea how this is going to go. It should be an easy argument for the Democrats, but obviously the Democratic Party has been they haven't been optimal when it comes to these types of situations and winning the media outlet, in a way. So that's what a government shutdown is. That is why it's happening, and that is why I believe it is substantial. Now, let's talk about how it could affect you and me personally. For one, if you're a federal employee, you are not getting paid. Now, that is a big deal because we have agencies, we have different departments, we have soldiers, specifically soldiers in cities right now, like the National Guard, who are not getting paid, who are working for free effectively, and that is a huge deal depending on how far this shutdown goes. The last shutdown in 2018 was the longest in history, 36 days, and that is a big deal because that's 2 pay cycles if you're getting paid bi-weekly. And I believe the government lost around $18 billion. I'll need to check that, or someone could check it. But yeah, $18 billion is a big deal, and over 36 days only. And this one could possibly be longer. I don't think it's going to be that long. I don't have a timeline of how long it would be, but there already have been some Democrats flipping over in favor of the Republicans, and I believe the latest vote was 45 to 55, so the Republicans only need 5 more Democrats to side with them. Some other areas where this could affect you if it drags on would be different government services such as Social Security, Medicare, SNAP benefits, food stamps, tax refunds, veteran benefits, passport and visa processing, national parks and museums, student aid, and FAFSA loans. And as we discussed before, military officers would not be getting paid. So all those services they're not going to cease to carry out their payments or their benefits, but there will be a delay in new applicant processing. And also, eventually, airports will begin to slow down as TSA agents and air traffic control are federal employees, and they would be working with no funds effectively. One federal job, I guess you could say, which isn't affected, is actually ICE. ICE would still continue to be paid because they were already given their funding through the Big Beautiful Bill around, I forgot the exact number, but it's a huge sum, and so they will not be affected during the government shutdown. Now, we talked about SNAP before, and that is between USDA, the Department of Agriculture, and those benefits are going to be halted, but there are certain mandatory things such as poultry, meat, and egg inspection that will be carried out because that is mandated by law. You cannot stop that. That is huge. And there are other areas of government such as weather. National Weather Service could be impacted eventually. A huge impact from the government shutting down is the CDC. There will be reduced surveillance and detection of infectious diseases. There will be hampered response to communications, and there will be suspended research and programs depending on how long the shutdown happens. Now, we should remember it hasn't even been a day since the government shut down. These things develop over time. Eventually, they will compound on each other and get much worse, but right now, there shouldn't be a problem. Again, I don't think that this will last that long. I personally think the Democrats will eventually bend the knee and, succumb to giving up the healthcare benefits. But, it is a very big point to make that this is a very important turning point for the future election cycle. 2026 is huge. Do not understate that. Now, it is very hard to quantify how a government shutdown affects elections. It is not like a one-to-one thing, like, okay, they lost because of the shutdown. But there have been past election cycles, such as the 2018 midterms, where the shutdown happened in the middle of them. Now, it is not easy to say how it affected it, but it should be said that these are important factors to take into consideration, especially for swing districts that are up for election. The voters that get, I shouldn't say hurt the most, but the voters that get swayed the most are actually moderate voters who are in between both parties. And if you can successfully blame the other party for the shutdown, the moderate voter could swing towards the party that is deemed irresponsible or not responsible for the shutdown. I shouldn't have said irresponsible, but this is a big moment, should not be undermined. And remember, the world's not ending. Things will be fine, hopefully, and this shouldn't last too long. If it does last more than a week, I guess I'll make a follow-up video saying I was wrong, but I don't think it's gonna last more than a week, maybe a few days at most. But hopefully I get proven right. I would rather not be wrong. But anyways, thank you for this video. I just want to make it quick. I just got out of work, but should be a new video this Friday or Saturday or Sunday, whenever I get to recording it. But yeah, thanks. Be on the lookout for that.